going. So if you'd like to pick a different language to listen, you can do that. And we will also be recording today's event and sending this out for your review later. So today, we are excited to provide you with another weekly update on all that Zoom's been able to accomplish as part of our 90-day plan and continued commitment and focus on security and privacy. Today, we're going to have Eric, our founder and CEO, provide an update on this week's progress in our 90-day plan. Then I'll turn it over to Oded Gal, our Chief Product Officer, who will go into more detail on some of our new product updates. Then we'll hear from Gary Sorrentino. Gary is currently serving as our CIO advisor to Zoom as part of our global CIO office. The CIO office at Zoom is made up of 5 career CXOs who help advise Zoom, and we're thrilled to have Gary as part of the team. Gary is a former managing director of JP Morgan Asset and Wealth Management, where he was the global head of client cyber awareness and education. While at JP Morgan, Gary led their data privacy program and their cybersecurity efforts and developed a firm-wide Protect the Client cyber program. Gary will provide us an update on our CISO Council, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. So let me turn it over to Eric.
Janelle, thank you. And first of all, thank you all for joining us today, and I really appreciate it. So this week, we hit a big milestone as Zoom 5.0 became generally available. And this release delivers one of our most advanced security enhancements to date, with support for AES-256 GCM encryption, which provides added protection for meeting data and a greater resistance to tampering, and positions Zoom as an industry leader with regards to encryption security for open and interoperable video communications at scale. Also on the front end, it provides our users with all of our security features at their fingertips with the security icon in the meetings and menu toolbar to ensure they have instant access to important security controls in their meetings. We have also made a robust security enhancement to provide even greater transparency about data routing and make it easier for our users to secure their meetings. So meaning if you use the 5.0 meeting client, you will know which data center you are connected with to join this Zoom meeting. With this new software update, we are delivering on our promise to double down on privacy, safety, and security to ensure our platform is worth of the trust you all have put in us. So thank you. So now I'll turn the call over to our Chief Product Officer, Oded Gal, to talk more specifically about our product updates.
Thank you, Eric. Today, I'll continue and describe our 90 days plan and where we are at. Let's move to the next slide. As Eric mentioned, Zoom 5.0 is the big news. And you can see the list of items that were included in that release. I'll go over them one by one. The first one is really the GCM encryption, and I have a special slide in next slide to talk about the process in details. Another feature is the report to user that I will add more details later on as well. In terms of really supporting the ability to identify or report to users what data center they're on, we've added the capability both in the backend and on the client, so people can really understand what connection they are on in terms of data center information. We also added the enhancement to our end and leave meeting. In the past, we've heard many users who really wanted to quickly have the ability to leave a meeting. And so we kind of rearranged the button in terms of leaving a meeting where you can easily click the leave meeting and then be able to exit quickly without looking for a dialogue that is in the center of the screen. We've made that improvement. We also allow you now to choose which host you want to take over the meeting if you're the host and you're about to leave it. In terms of profile pictures, we added in the backend the ability for the host to disable for participants the ability to show their profile picture and even change it while in the meeting. In terms of passwords, we've really added a minimum length of 6 characters. And we've, on the recording side, set the expiration date and ability to disable. Next week, what we plan to do is, first of all, in terms of the ability to disable PMIs, that's a feature that was requested by a few of our customers. We'll provide that ability so customers can choose if they don't want to use PMIs at all, that on the back end we'll have the ability to remove it. Across the month of May, we'll add more and more capabilities, as you can see here. We are looking into really taking the defaults of security in all accounts to the next level. And moving forward, we'll add passwords to all meetings. Other features that are coming in the backend are really the ability to manage the virtual backgrounds so that admins can set up default virtual backgrounds and really allow only those that are selected to be chosen by the users. And in addition, really kind of disabling the ability to join a meeting from multiple devices under the same account. So as you can see, there's a lot going on still, and we're executing on the 90 days plan. Let's go into details in the first 2 capabilities. The first one is report to user. You can see on the new security icon, we've added the new report button. Once chosen, allows you to submit a report that really identify a specific offense, have a description to it, and even add an optional screenshot. And that report goes to our trust and safety team for review. Next slide. In terms of our 5.0 plan for transitioning to GCM, so on April 27, we released version 5. And through the months of May, we will really encourage people to upgrade to 5.0 and have that new capability of GCM, but it will also include all the new security features that we've added so far. It's kind of leveling up everyone to that version is very important in the sense that they get the most secured capability to join Zoom meetings. And this is the reason why by the end of the month, May 30th, we will basically enforce that upgrade for all users. So really, this is the plan in terms of making sure people have the most secure capability to join Zoom meetings, and 5.0 is key to that transition from the previous capabilities to the new GCM encryption. There are more resources on the web that you can go, and you can see here on the screen, we can also publish it on our website. It is already out there on our website. And now, I'd like to transition to Gary, our CIO advisor, who will talk about our CISO Council in detail.
Thank you, Oded. So as you know, Zoom officially launched the CISO Council earlier this month, which was one of the key initiatives in the 90-day plan to help bolster privacy and security initiatives across our platform. Collaboration across the industry is one of the most effective ways Zoom can ensure it's implementing security and privacy best practices. And I'll tell you, myself and the company were truly humbled that when we announced that we were going to form this council, the outreach from some of the most well-respected CISOs and security specialists in the world came forward to help us. Maybe we can go to the next slide. So Zoom's CISO Council is comprised of 39 of the leading CISO security experts across many various industries, such as technology, financial services, retail, professional services, government, education, healthcare, manufacturing, communication, biotech, pharma, agriculture, and other agriculture industries. And they include some very well-known security experts from HSBC, Santa Fe, Arizona State University, Sentinel-1, and that's just to name a few. Can we go to the next slide, please? The purpose of the CISO Council is to engage us with ongoing dialogue about privacy, security, tech issues, best practices. It's really about sharing ideas and collaborate. We had our first meeting last week. It was filled of constructive dialogue. They will more importantly serve as the voice of the client. As Zoom continues to experience new use cases, as it opens itself up to new and different types of users, especially during this time right now, it's important that we get that real-time feedback from our clients, an insight into how the security of the product will need to function, and which controls are required by the various different types of organizations, legal, regulatory, statutory requirements. They will also provide guidance and advice both on security of the current platform, as well as some of the new designs and security enhancements we're coming up with. Additionally, we want them to help with prioritization of new security features and enhancements. We look forward also to have our CISO Council members join in upcoming webinars and industry work groups. Like I said before, they're already providing us with invaluable insights as we work to navigate the near-term challenges and implement these enhancements. And it will make us the standard bearer for security and privacy in video communications going forward. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Gary. Before we jump into the Q&A, I also want to introduce Brendan Idelson, Zoom's Chief Technology Officer, and Alex Stamos, who is a privacy advisor to Zoom. Alex is the director of the Stanford Internet Observatory and previously served as the Chief Security Officer of Facebook. Just like last week, we'll have Brandon and Alex available along with Eric, Oded, and Gary to help answer your questions. I want to start off with, I think we used a few acronyms in our intro. Oded, can you talk a little bit about what is a PMI?
Yes, sure. A PMI is a personal meeting ID. And the idea is that there are two ways to schedule a meeting. One is you can use a randomly generated meeting ID, one that is generated kind of ad hoc at the time of scheduling. Or you can use the PMI, which is a kind of persistent meeting ID that you can use repeatedly.
Great. And then just in relation to what you were announcing, like what are some considerations if you're going to be using a PMI related to security?
Yeah, I think the idea behind the feature that we are including is there is some concern when using a PMI because it's not changing, it's consistent. Some customers want to avoid using it, and that's why we're taking it off as an option where customers can disable it from the backend.
Right, because it becomes easier to guess, easier to infiltrate, to get in. Gary, there was a question of what is CISO?
I'm sorry, you said what?
What is CISO?
CIO advisor, I think you mean, right?
Yes.
Right. So the CIO advisors, which I'm one of, is a group of 5 led by Harry Mosley. And we're here to help ensure that security and privacy best practices are being implemented. We're 5 ex-corporate executives with over 170 years experience and represent key markets around the world. We're located in the US, we're located in Australia, we're located in Europe. And I think this team advises not only the Zoom leadership, but the clients on security, privacy, tech issues, best practices. And we work with the clients and the prospects about collaborating about the future of work and building those better business outcomes.
Great. And so Rachel's asking, what does a CIO and what does a CISO stand for? And what are their different roles in an organization?
Got it. So the CISO is a Chief Information Security Officer responsible for security and privacy within a company or an organization. And a CIO is the Chief Information Officer. And normally look at it this way. In a tech organization, the CEO of a tech organization is usually the CIO. And then everybody rolls up underneath that CIO.
Excellent. All right, Oded, we have a couple of questions around the 5.0 and the encryption. Let's see. So after May 30th, will the web client be able to be available for meetings with the same GCM encryption, or will the client need be required to join a meeting? So can I join over the web client after May 30th?
Yes, correct. The web client will also support GCM.
Great. Will Zoom push the client update to 5.0 for any clients that are in older versions when the new encryption standard goes forward on May 30th?
Well, basically at that time, customers who didn't upgrade before that will be forced to upgrade before joining the meeting.
Okay. And to support,
meaning after May 30, any old version client, you cannot join the Zoom meeting at all. So you have to upgrade before that.
yes, or we'll be forcing it, correct?
Yep.
Okay, to support the new GCM client, well, I think I just answered this. Is there going to be a new Zoom? Oh, actually I didn't. Is there going to be a new Zoom Rooms version released as well? What happens to third-party video rooms like Cisco? I'd assume would they be able to join as well?
So we already released a Zoom Room client that has the GCM, and people can upgrade their existing Zoom Rooms with a new version, and then they'll be able to join with GCM, and that's already available on our website. For like third-party devices, like a Cisco Room system, basically it will go through our connector, and we do allow them to join encrypted, and it will be GCM encryption.
Okay, and we have Stephen asking, can we enable GCM now?
We will provide the ability to test the GCM, but the change that we will make to the backend will only happen at May 30th.
Right, so what we are putting up, I believe, Brendan or Doug, you can keep me honest here, this week is a URL off of our 5.0 website page for the IT admins where they could go and test it.
Correct. Will be
Excellent.
zoom.us/test/GCM, and people will be able to go there and test.
Even better, you knew the URL. Excellent. Okay, what's going to be involved in upgrading to 5.0?
So that, if you're kind of an end user, you can go and do the regular check for update right now, and it will allow you to go through a flow that upgrades the client to version 5. I think later on in the course of this month, we will also prompt an update. So we will notify the user that they have to upgrade, or they should upgrade, recommend to upgrade. And as we mentioned, by May 30th, you will have to upgrade to be able to join a meeting.
And if a host is using a client 5.0, can participants still join with the client 4.x?
So between now and May 30th, that's still something that will be available, but on May 30th, that will not happen anymore.
And Oded, on your slide, you mentioned a requirement in the future requirement that we're going to put passwords on for all meetings, including previously scheduled meetings. How would that work?
Basically, on the back end, we will make that mandatory to have passwords for all meetings.
Great. Eric, do we have any plans to seek additional security certifications?
Yes. So even we do work together with third party penetration testing firm, and also a lot of third party companies to help us. Yes, indeed that's our plan. Yeah.
Great. And what are some of them that we have right now? I think you guys can probably all help rattle off a few here. Yeah,
we have government cloud, we have FedRAMP, and also enable the healthcare customer, enable them for HIPAA compliance, and SOC 2 and all those industry standard. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Oded, when will the security icon be available on the webinar platform?
The secure icon should be available on the webinar at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good point.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was referring to the security icon at the top. The security icon for the webinar right now, it's not planned because we feel that the webinar interacts in a different way that doesn't require the same security capabilities. because of the kind of one-to-many approach that it has, but we're kind of open to feedback and we can consider that moving forward.
Excellent. Will you be enforcing the update for users who don't have accounts?
Well, the update doesn't distinguish between users with account or without account. Everybody will have to upgrade.
Right. So especially after May 30th, to join that meeting, they're going to be forced to do the upgrade.
Correct.
To have the correct client. Brendan, I know you were talking about this earlier this week. Can you talk about our cloud contract with Oracle, and are you using Microsoft Azure and AWS as well?
Happy to dive into that question. So Zoom, we use a mix of cloud technologies and our own data centers to help deliver the service and ensure that our customers are able to collaborate. So we do use services such as AWS, the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and Azure, as well as our global data center network of co-locations that we manage.
Great. There was a big press release on Tuesday, right? About that? Great.
So Janelle, maybe I'll clarify a little bit just to make sure. So
Great.
prior to this crisis, we, by and large, we use our own data center for all the real-time traffic. And our pre-meeting and post-meeting layer on AWS, we were a great partner with Amazon for many, many years. And about real-time traffic always stay inside our own data center, for our paid customers. And during this pandemic crisis, every day is new record. Our own existing data center really cannot handle those traffic. That's why several months ago, Amazon really offered a greater support to us. Andy and his team, and offered tons of servers. Right? Every night, sometimes I added 5,000 to 6,000 servers, a lot of servers.
Wow.
And to help us worldwide. And also recently, Oracle also is a great customer as well. They also wanted to offer the support, and we tested it works so well as well. That's why also we added some servers from Oracle Cloud. So ultimately, our own data center, and primarily Amazon, and also the Oracle and the cloud, those three together to serve all those unprecedented traffic. So
Excellent. Thank you. Eric, here's another one for you. What is Zoom doing about companies or organizations that ban the use of Zoom and it won't let their employees join your Zoom meeting?
So yeah, first of all, Zoom takes user security extremely, extremely seriously. A large number of global institutions ranging from the world's largest financial services companies and the telecommunications providers to non-governmental organizations and government agencies have done exhaustive security reviews of our users, network, account, data center layers, and continue to use Zoom for most or all of their unified communication needs. And our executive team has put together a letter that you can send to these companies outlining our policies and our security program. That's also available on the privacy and security resources section of our website. Zoom indeed very secure. But today you look at the top security companies worldwide, right? They all use Zoom, and I think it's very secure. And you just please take a look at that letter if you have time, to visit our website.
Great. So many questions coming in. Thank you guys. Keep them coming. Let's see. Can you discuss the security difference between Zoom and Zoom for Government, and why is one approved for FedRAMP but the other is not? Brendan or Dad, do you want to take one of those?
Definitely happy to jump into that question. So in terms of the FedRAMP environment and our commercial environment, you're looking at the same core product, but a lot of it comes into the operation and configuration of the Zoom platform to make sure that we're complying with the standards and guidelines for that specific environment. For example, in our commercial environment, you have the option of using our global network of data centers to ensure the closest connection. But for our FedRAMP environment, that one specifically only has US data centers available to it, and that is in a separate data center space. So when we look at the differences, it's a number of items primarily on ensuring compliance with those different standards, but the same core platform.
Thank you. Let's see.
Yeah, by the way, the key is around, look at FedRAMP, just one data center, just the US. And the commercial cloud is a global distributed data center, right? This is another big difference, yeah.
Let's see. Elizabeth's asking, as a host, when I record a meeting, is there any option for me to not let them know I'm recording?
No, this
Alex?
is something that I can answer.
Okay.
Alex, you can add. Basically, we're required by law to notify everyone in the meeting that the meeting is being recorded. We actually also have the ability to ask for consent for people to join the meeting. So we have to comply with that.
Yeah, and Alex, maybe you just want to talk a little bit about like, why is that the standard? What are the?
Yeah, so I actually, in a class I teach with a law professor, we talk about this. So there's a law in the United States called the Wiretap Act, as well as a number of state laws involving people recording meetings. And the state laws all vary on what the rules are. But like Oded said, Zoom is required to provide this under a variety of laws. And it's really, anybody who's thinking of recording a meeting without telling people really needs to look into their local laws if they're going to do so, by pointing up, even if it's just by pointing their camera at a screen or something like that. They got to be really careful to not follow afoul of those laws.
Great, thank you. So we're just trying to keep everybody safe. Let's see. Greg has asked. He names the competitor in the question, but I won't name him. Teaching on another platform, they had someone impersonate a student and really act inappropriately. How does Zoom compare to others on these offerings? And I think it's something that's come up a lot, right? The Zoom bombing or meeting disruptions, and it really is kind of an industry-wide problem. But Zoom kind of got hit with all the news of it. Oded, do you want to talk a little bit about how we compare and maybe some of the newer features we've put in to help safeguard this?
Yes, I think there are a few options how to counter that in our product specifically. One, we have several features that you have in the backend that you can prepare the meeting for, in terms of if you have that type of large meeting, that you have people that coming from different backgrounds and you really want to control it, you can add those capabilities ahead of time to the meeting. One of them is really the ability to have a waiting room. And in that sense, you can admit people one by one and really kind of make sure you have the right people in the meeting. Second is, of course, the password that will be mandatory soon, but for now you can add it. It's on by default, just make sure it's there. And then we have that unique feature that we added to the in-meeting experience, where you can do multiple things from that button in the meeting itself. So one of them is, you can actually take that participant out of the meeting, easily going through the remove participant button and just click one button and that participant is out. You can also disable some of the other capabilities that make people disrupt the meeting. And we have a list of features that you can control as a host or co-host from within the meeting using that button, and that's unique to us. And as I mentioned, we have the additional report to user that is new with the version 5 that allows you to take it to the next level and report that user from within the product.
Great. And then there is a follow-up question of, would you get the legal authorities involved if needed?
So in some situations we do, yes.
Let's see. I have a recurring meeting which overlaps with the new version launch. Do I need to resend the invite for the sessions after May 30th?
Basically, what will happen is we will add the password to those meetings. It is recommended to resend and kind of reschedule those meetings so that you make sure everybody gets all the information that is required to join the meeting.
Okay, and to clarify, this person's on a paid plan and they want to know if they still have the option of a PMI with the 5.0 upgrade.
Yes, correct.
So you'd still have the option, it's just going to be off by default.
Well, the PMI will be there. What we are adding is the ability to remove it completely.
It's more like an option for enterprise customers. They can disable the PMI, but we highly recommend that every PMI users, you better add the password protection. That's the key.
Excellent tip. Yes. Let's see. There's a few questions in here about virtual cameras and can we get that support back?
Yeah, we are working on that. We just want to make sure it's secured and no issues with having those different virtual cameras.
Okay, and someone's asking if there's an option for Zoom to record meetings locally and not in the cloud.
Yes, we have that capability. You can choose between the two. If you're a basic customer, you only have one option, the local. If you're paid customers, you have the ability to record in the cloud in addition.
Yeah, ideally, actually, if you see after the meeting is over, you immediately want to get a recorded file, do record, from a local machine. It's faster to have you to get a recorded file. So after the meeting is over, the cloud recording probably take a little bit longer time because there's so many recordings, and so it's if you do not want to wait, and those is better for your local recording.
Do you get the transcripts in the local recording?
No.
So there's some pluses and minuses to that, right?
Yeah.
On which one you're going to decide to do. Let's see, what does GCM mean? And should pro accounts be concerned about this?
Back to acronym definitions.
Yes.
So, AES-GCM stands for the Advanced Encryption Standard Galois Counter Mode. So AES is the US government standard encryption algorithm that has been defined, came out of a competition the US government ran, and has been approved for classification up to top secret. There are different ways to use an algorithm like AES on a long stream of content like a video stream. The way that Zoom used to be doing this was called ECB. There are some downsides of ECB. For the most part, those downsides are not actually applicable to its usage in Zoom, but it is best practice to use some newer, more modern technologies. And that's what we've done with GCM, is to apply the same algorithm, but in a mechanism that makes sure that the data no information could possibly leak from the data stream, and that we can make sure it hasn't been modified by any attackers. Realistically, there's very little to worry about whether you're on ECB or GCM. There's no good examples of ECB issues being actually exploited in a situation where you have compressed audio and video, like what we're talking about with Zoom. But it is best practice. GCM is now what the NSA recommends for classified meetings. And so we are upgrading to the latest version. As Oded said, most people don't have to think about this. It will just happen for them automatically at the end of the month.
Let's see, are there any plans to expand two-factor authentication support to cover all platforms and all users?
Yes, this is one of the enhancements we are working on, and we'll provide more updates probably on the next webinar.
Yeah, that's for like individual users, but most of enterprise business customers, they already use a single sign-on like Okta, right? But for our first-time free users, then the single online paid account, we already have the capability behind the scene, based on we control that. But now we are working on a plan, essentially let the end user control that. So that's what Oded referred to.
Great. And does Zoom plan on offering any free trainings to best utilize Zoom, especially the secret tips and lesser known features? While many consultants are offering Zoom trainings, it seems like it would be best if it came from Zoom directly. And I think I could answer that. Certainly we have probably 10 webinars running a day. So please visit our website. At the very bottom, you can see webinar and events. You can see what's listed. Please sign up. Our team is working very feverishly to do that. Also, there's some great tips on YouTube. So you can go there and you can see some great little how-to video clips on how to do things. So certainly we're trying to get out as much information as we can on that. And I see Vincent's from our training support team is also putting something in the chat there for everybody. Let's see, Eric or Dad, either one. Recently, Facebook and Google both made their video conferencing apps available for free to the public. Does Zoom have any plans to counter?
I think, normally we do not really focus on, competitors. I even do not think, it's a different use case, right? Facebook already had that solution before. Google also has 2 solutions before, like Google Hangout and Google Meet. And first of all, I think more solutions available, it's always good for the end user. And I think, especially as the market is big and the focus also is different, right? And having said that, we also, integrate with our competitors as well. And, like Google G Suite, we integrate very well. And I do not think, this, focus on the same use case. It's very, different use case, even for the same use case. And, give the end user more choices and to make sure we all can work together, deploy and develop the best solution is always good. I think it's pretty healthy. We do not really focus on competitors. We do all we can to build the best solution, most secure, frictionless collaboration service for our customers. That's our priority.
Excellent. Bit of a tactical question, Oded. When will we see the updates for 5.0 on Android and iOS?
That's will come during the week.
Great. So we do have to wait for their stores to do their approvals.
Correct.
Do that. Eric, do you have a CISO or a chief privacy officer, or how do you think about that? And would they be joining these meetings?
Yeah, it's a good point. We should, we do. And yeah, that's a good point. We should invite next time. Yeah.
Okay. And then if somebody is reported to Zoom on reporting a user, are they permanently banned?
Brandon expert on that, so
Yes.
he led the team before, to deal with all those issues before.
So for any case that we receive, reporting a user on our platform, we do an investigation and then take an appropriate action. And there are a range of actions that can occur, from banning a user to, as Oded was mentioning earlier, involving law enforcement, but it's really a case-by-case basis on what actions need to take place due to the nature of the report.
All right, and Eric, I think this is an excellent question. This is from somebody who's not a Zoom customer, but they are the CISO of their company. How can they make sure that meetings their employees want to join when they're using the most recent 5.0 version of Zoom, that they're secure? So this kind of gets back to that. We answered the question from the side of, from our customers, is saying, hey, somebody's banning somebody joining our meeting. This is a CISO at one of those companies saying, hey, how do I make sure they're
No,
safe?
for the first time user, you always get a latest word if you never used that before. But if you use a previous version and after the meeting is over or before the meeting, just for this week, it just one click, you can manually upgrade. And the next several weeks, we are going to make the prompt update. So meaning after the meeting is over, or automatically pop up something to let you upgrade. Or you can use a mobile client or a web client as well. So
Great. And Gary, a question here of, why did you decide to join Zoom as a CIO advisor?
Oh, it's an excellent question. Part of it is my background with Harry also, but when I left JP Morgan in October, Harry told me about Zoom. I got a Zoom license. I started using the product. I became very interested in it, and it was an easy sale. After that, he said, hey, we're looking for CIO advisors, and the role is to help some of our peers in the industry. So when I go on different sales calls, I meet my friends and my peers that I've worked with throughout my life, and I get to help them bring Zoom into their companies. And so that was the first thing he brought to me, and I was like, wow, that really works for me. And I've also enjoyed working with him, presenting Zoom at different events. And so it was a no-brainer.
Well, it's been
Gary,
great to have you on board.
Yeah, Gary also mentioned, I remember, like, you mentioned the product really works. That's why you wanted to join to help.
Well, to tell you the truth, I did meet Eric and I did a great, meet a lot of people. And that is one of the things, is that the product really worked. And I came from a CTO background at JP Morgan and a CISO background, and always looking for something that works. It just makes your life easier when you don't have to worry about constant end user support. It just works. I started saying it myself just from using the product, and I didn't have to be told, right? But when I did finally meet Eric and we talked about it, I think that is the thing that came out of my mouth, is it just works.
I love it. I love it. Well, we're thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
What do you see as the future for online events? How will you integrate with online event packages? Eric, do you want to talk about that? Virtual
Yeah,
events?
sure. Yeah, feel free, Brandon, and Odette, feel free to chime in. So
Yeah.
online events, especially during this pandemic crisis, a lot of companies have online town hall meeting, the webinars, like a CDC, they held a webinar, also used Zoom before, and several months ago, multiple webinars. I think online event and a webinar is becoming more and more important. That's why we have very flexible Zoom webinar platform, can support up to 50,000 meeting participants. And especially when you work from home, you sometimes, how can you engage with your team, with customer partners? You cannot really have any physical event anymore. I think online webinar is going to become a new norm. I think that we are doubling down, tripling down on that, more capacity, and also make it is very easy to use.
Yeah, and your events team's done a fabulous job. I mean, the NFL draft this week was amazing. A lot of people were involved in that. So you have the technology platform, but you also have the people who can really help people put these on.
Yeah, a lot of our customers, they are user conference, they cannot, have a physical user conference. They already converted it to the Zoom online, video webinar. Was very, very successful.
So would Zoom be safe to have for a board meeting, a virtual board meeting?
Absolutely. So we use Zoom for our board meeting for many years, and plus a lot of our customers also use that. Having said that, for sure you got to probably follow the best practice. I think we have planned to have a blog, like a basic feature like a meeting password. That's what I want to share with you. Maybe a Zoom's best practice, right? And when I schedule that meeting, I won't allow registered participant to join, right? And a registration, or you only use the specific domain users to log in to join. That is very important. And also with the password. And after that, see, like our board meeting have 10 members, and after they all join meeting, I lock the meeting. Ideally, actually, if you really want to make things very secure, you also can enable watermark. And no board member, they can copy the screen and to share to the public who is going to who leaked the content. And also you also do not allow to use the phone to dial in. I think it quite often is very convenient, right, to use the phone to dial in, but that's really not secure, right? We only allow all the Zoom client to join. So it's very secure. Follow the best practice is very secure.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We're going to blog out on that. You could also register your attendees as well on meetings as well as on webinars. So
exactly, yeah.
It's another great tip. Eric, can you talk about what measures are you taking to prevent theft from internal staff?
Sorry, what do you mean?
From Zoom employees, like would we have access to any of their data? And
yeah, this is first of all, we have a process, right? Who can access what? I have an IT policy, I have a data center policy, I have a Zoom, government cloud policy, and we do have that. And plus, and we're also going to, double down, triple down, review that, make sure it's, so we give you the minimum access, for our employee access our internal system, internal data, and the data center engineers. We are reviewing everything. That is also our focus. It makes it extremely, I would say, the secure and reduce the bar as well. Not only for our, internal IT system or data center or source code, almost everything, right? I just want to make it very secure.
Yeah, Alex, you looked like you wanted to chime in on that one.
Oh no, I was just saying. I mean, this is a big issue for all enterprise customers. and something that people should be concerned about, and Zoom is building systems around this. But a key protection here is that meeting contents are encrypted in the way that they're not decrypted until they hit the other side. And the encryption keys for that are very tightly controlled. And so, those kinds of steps that reduce the possibility of Zoom systems seeing something at all are the kind of critical design decisions that have been made and are continuing to be made to reduce the risk from any individual rogue employee.
Great. Brendan, I think you answered a few of these last week, so I'm going to throw one at you. Is Zoom HIPAA compliant, and how would you know if Zoom is going to be considered HIPAA security for medical use?
A great question about HIPAA. So we help organizations with their HIPAA compliance, and we have configurations that work with all of the security and policy requirements when delivering health information over a video conference platform. And that includes items such as having a BAA agreement, which we're happy to work through with our customers.
Great. And Odette, there's a few questions here on the waiting room. One is about, do you know what order people came in on? And is there a way to know or to chat with that person to find out who they really are?
Yeah, it is in chronological order. So based on when people join, they will show up. And then in terms of the ability to communicate, you can text chat back into the waiting room participants, but they cannot text back.
Okay, and this one kind of cracks me up because I feel like every teenager out there has figured out some way to upset their classes or to do something. What's to keep people from reporting someone as a prank or just to be mean if it's not legit? Brendan, chime in here, but I think the first thing is only the host or the co-host are the ones who can report. Brendan, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Exactly. So with this report feature, it is limited in who has that report feature. And that's part of the reason why I say that each is a case by case, because our trust and safety team does do an analysis of each report to see what the background is behind it. And if it is a legitimate case where it is a violations of our terms of service and our acceptable use policy.
And Odette, we have another question about webinar. These same security features coming to webinars, and maybe just talk about some of the differences or why you would choose a webinar over a meeting.
Yes, definitely. Difference between a webinar and a meeting is that a meeting is more of an interactive session where you want everybody to be kind of on the same level playing, other than the host and the co-host. Everybody can send and receive videos, and you can, they can share their screen based on, of course, the host control. While on a webinar, it's more of a one-to-many experience where you have a group of panelists that have that capability of sharing the video and sharing the screen, but the attendees are receiving that content on a one-to-many way, in a kind of a one way. And that's the basic difference. So the idea is that if you have a large group that requires less interaction during that session, then you would choose a webinar, and you will put the people who need to present and need to have that capability share the screen as a panelist. It's more manageable in that sense, and it provides more control for the host than a meeting, but it doesn't have the same level of interactivity.
Great. And Sean's asking, can you provide a report that shows the location of where the person is joining? Brendan, you want to take that?
Yeah, so one of the features that we do have for our business customers is our dashboard, which shows for a meeting a range of meeting statistics, including where the person is joining from. So it allows those enterprise admins to be able to deep dive into the meetings for troubleshooting purposes, as well as having sort of an overall health of the platform.
Great. Let's see. Do you feel that all the new best practices suggested for a meeting to take place, it increases the complexity and the overall experience, reducing the ease of use? There's this question. There's another one very similar to this, just asking about how do you balance that, the ease of use versus security? Eric, I'd love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, that's a great question, for sure. And how to balance this? This is really not easy, especially there's no guiding principle, right? You need to look at every use cases. However, and whenever there's a conflict, our philosophy is privacy security first, right? If there's any conflict, right? Like a meeting password. Some users say, "Oh, why do I need a password?" So whenever there's conflict like that, we see security privacy first. You have to have a password. Right? Like we offer the K-12 schools free access, we enforced waiting room features also, right? For the board meetings, and in the future, probably we should have more template. Otherwise you need to enable this feature, that feature. I think it makes it a little bit complex. We should have some template. This is a board meeting template with pre-configured based on our, the industry, or based on our best practice. Or be very, very sensitive meetings with some different encryption. I think having said that, I think we need to make it easier to help the end user. They do not need to do balance, but we need a balance, right? This is our approach. Yeah.
John is asking, allowing only registered participants to join a meeting, doesn't that mean that they have to be on Zoom? Like, how are you doing that? Odette or Brendan, you want to talk about that?
Definitely. And we have a few different features here which help do that. So there's only authenticated users can join your meeting, where you can specify that they have to have a Zoom account and sign into their Zoom account. And if you want to add additional restrictions, it has to be a Zoom account with a certain email domain. So that's one option. But the other one is our meeting or webinar registration, which they do not need to have an account on our platform at all. They just need to go out, fill out that registration form, and then you as the host can define rules of if folks automatically get approved or you needing to manually approve them to be able to attend. And at that point, they'll get a special link that will allow them to connect into your session.
All right, and Philip's asking, Zoom's gotten a lot of negative press recently, and the good news is the press has also highlighted issues, many of which are not limited to Zoom. The bad news is that Zoom is often discounted as the best product. How will you handle the changing perception? Eric, do you want to talk about that?
I think there are multiple ways to change the perception, but we are learning because used to be the business enterprise companies not have free users for sure, and given the number of the daily participants, and for sure you are going to have so many articles, right, covering you either positive or negative. And our approach is always keep everything open, transparent, and do all we can to improve and to deliver the best product, even if sometimes some people they might misunderstand you, but we truly believe at the end of the day, the world will understand what you're doing because you're really doing the right thing. Because sometimes, I just to be very frank, very honest, some articles are just misleading. It's not accurate at all. But do we need to spend all the time to defend ourselves? That's one way. And we realize this may not be scalable, right? And it's really hard because you cannot control that. But one thing you can control is make sure you focus on the end user, focus on the product, focus on your company culture. And the way we could look at what's happening today, and we've seen, let's fast forward to 2040 or 2045. When people wrote a story about the COVID-19 pandemic, they realized Zoom did the right thing for the world, even if there was so many negative, not accurate, the PR, but that's okay. And we do not, focus on the negative PR. We focus on the right thing, to care about every family, to care about the Americans, because it's a tough time, right? We do all we can to prioritize those kind of things, to deliver the better service, to connect the people, to make it secure and frictionless. That's our focus. You really cannot control all those negative PR at all. So what can we do? And so if anyone has any advice, please let us know. But that's why I stopped reading all those, negative PR, to be honest with you, because it's not very accurate at all. So, and we got to spend all the time to focus on our end user and our product.
Excellent. And I know you have been, so thank you. And the tireless hours you and your team have been putting in. Are you aware, this is another question, are you aware that public entities are legally prohibited from password protected meetings? Would anybody like to comment on that? So I imagine that could change with different municipalities or governments. And then if you are prohibited from using a password on your meeting, would certainly encourage you to have that waiting room on. Alex, did you have something?
I'm aware that, a number of especially states have rules around open meetings of certain public groups, right? Like you can't have a secret city council meeting. But in the Zoom era, that's, I think, less about the password and more about what they need to do is they need to be using the webinar feature. They can use the webinar feature and allow people to have public participation without inviting everybody to be a full participant in the meeting. And so I think there's no reason why you can't use Zoom in those situations. You just have to configure it to be compatible with what the law is and to make sure that people can respectfully ask questions, but perhaps can't be disruptive because they have access to screen sharing or video.
Yeah, excellent point. Excellent point on that. All right, so we have 3 more minutes left. Let's see if there's one more question we can pop in here. Let's see. Boy, there's a lot of questions in here. One is saying, how will I get the answers to my questions? So we are doing the best. We have people on the back end also pulling questions and putting those in there. Let's see. Do you use KMS for keys? Alex, would you like to talk about key management at all?
So there are a number of special options for specific enterprise users. KMS is just a key management system for an enterprise, and we're going to have more to discuss in the future about those very high-end enterprises that run their own key management, about how that might interact with Zoom.
Excellent. All right, we're at the top of the hour. I would like to thank all of you. I'd like to thank our people who attended, our panelists, and our interpreters. Eric, do you have any last words?
Thank you all. Have a wonderful week. See you next week. Thank you.